Welcome friends. This is a web novel. Imagination is key to enjoy it fully. Please like, subscribe and gives your feedback.
Deep in another area of the forest, a crazed boy resided, having been transported to this apocalyptic world alongside everyone else. This boy was a truly unfortunate person. His name was Misogi Barlow. In front of him stood Radin Sedeganad, the leader of one of the most violent gangs in the entire forest. Radin was not extremely muscular, but his body was obviously toned. However, that wasn't his most significant trait. Radin had an extremely powerful system, a system which gained the respect of over 100 loyal followers. Radin's strength was one that deserved its spot in the top 5. "What the fuck are you doing here?" exclaimed Radin. "Oh? That's not a very nice way to greet someone," Misogi replied. "I would kill you on the spot, but I don't want to waste my energy. I have a request for you. Do you think you're in the position to be making demands?" Misogi looked around. "I don't see anything that would be a threat to me. Haha, I'll give you 2 seconds to get the fuck out or I'm going to kill you. At least hear me, you. Open portal." Directly in front of Misogi, Radin formed a pitch-dark portal that ripped open the space. "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you. Die." Suddenly, an arrow flew out of the portal. It struck Misogi in the heart, piercing his skin and killing him instantly. Misogi's corpse fell to the ground as Radin dissolved the portal that he had previously conjured in front of him. Blood leaked over the ground as Radin began walking over. However, to his surprise, when Radin inspected the corpse, he saw that the wound caused by the arrow had completely disappeared. Slowly, the previously dead Misogi got back to his feet. "Hey now, that wasn't very nice. What the fuck? What is your system?" Radin scrambled to try to find an explanation for the phenomenon. "It's a secret. I've had enough of your bullshit." Open portal. Another portal formed at Misogi's feet. This time, he fell in, his body sinking into the dark abyss. "Hey, I'm TR. Close portal." The portal suddenly disappeared, and the bottom half of Misogi's body vanished along with it. Blood splattered all over the ground as his body fell lifeless once again. All that was left was the upper body of a bloodied and dead person. What on earth was that power he used the first time? Radin muttered to himself. With the assumption that it was over, Radin began walking about the building that they were talking in. His footsteps echoed throughout the hall. "Removed source of death." "Hey, do you mind letting me speak?" said Misogi in a slightly croaky voice. "What the fuck?" Radin turned around in shock as the previously dead Misogi arose once again. The bottom half of his body had been healed and it would appear that he never had any injuries in the first place. Radin was in pure astonishment. "Listen to my demands, won't you? What on earth are you?" Misogi slowly walked towards Radin. "Now, I'll leave on one condition." "What is it that you want?" "You give me that blonde-haired girl." "What? You want Alice? For what reason?" "Ah, she's cute, that's all." Radin appeared to be incredibly agitated by Misogi's statements. "I'm not giving you shit." "Ah, now that won't do." Misogi approached Radin until he was within arm's reach. Radin raised his arm as if activating his ability. However, no matter how hard he tried, no portal was formed. He started to sweat as Misogi stared at him silently. "Why isn't my system working?" "Open portal." No matter what he did, no portal was formed. He tried concentrating all of his thoughts, but for some reason, his ability just wouldn't work. "Are you going to accept my condition? I'm not giving Alice to you." "Hey now, are you really in the position to be making statements like that?" For the first time, Radin felt fear in his body. Misogi reached out and grabbed Radin by the neck. "Come on, give her to me." Misogi's mouth was smiling, however his eyes were as cold as the winter. "Gee, go fuck yourself." Radin summoned a silver sword and swung at Misogi. Misogi took a step back to avoid the attack as the point of the blade just barely missed his neck. Without hesitation, Radin charged forward at Misogi and swung again. "Hey now, why don't you call in some of your lackeys to help you? If they see me struggling to fight a pissant like you, I wouldn't be able to face them again." "Oh, but I'm strong, aren't I?" Misogi wasn't able to dodge the second strike. This time, the blade cut into his chest, drawing out a large stream of blood. Despite all the pain, Misogi continued to smile. Radin pushed forward again, cutting his head clean off with one single strike. "You're a weak little shit." There was a brief flash. Removed source of death. Radin couldn't believe his eyes as he saw Misogi alive once again, as if nothing had happened to him. His wounds had healed and his clothing was restored. As Radin prepared to attack him again, he noticed that his silver sword had vanished. What on earth? Are you really going to sacrifice your life protecting one mere girl? How are you still alive? Come on now, if you don't agree, I might just kill you." No way. I don't understand any of this, but you're getting on my nerves. Misogi slowly walked towards Radin again. In his hand, Misogi summoned a knife of Kali. In response, Radin quickly pulled a shield out of his inventory. Misogi swung his knife, only to have it stick into Radin's shield. Even despite Radin's previous reliance on his system, his hand-to-hand combat skills were nothing to scoff at. After Misogi's attack, Radin dropped his shield and kicked Misogi in the face. Misogi was sent crashing into the ground, kicking up a little cloud of dust. Radin looked down at Misogi with a face full of anger. As if he wasn't in any pain, Misogi climbed back up onto his feet. Why don't you give up, Radin Sedeganad? Tell me, what's the real reason for you wanting Alice? The real reason? Is wanting her to be my girlfriend a valid reason? Don't joke around with me. But I'm not joking. Radin took a step back and summoned some rope to his hand. If you won't die, I'll just tie you up and throw you into the river. Radin moved forward with the rope in his hand. He tackled Misogi to the ground and began tying up his arm. All of a sudden, Radin felt a sharp pain in his side. As he looked over, he saw that blood was rapidly flowing out of his side. Misogi had summoned another knife of Kali and stabbed Radin. Misogi watched as Radin's lifeless body fell to the ground. Slowly picking himself up from the ground, Misogi pulled the rope off of his arms. He grabbed all the items from Radin's inventory and added them to his own. He began making his way out of the building that the two of them fought in. Several of Radin's guards were waiting outside. Misogi gave a bright smile and waved at the guards. Hey! The guards were obviously on edge, especially at the fact that Misogi had blood all over his body. One of the guards quickly moved to check the inside of the building. Misogi simply stood silently and waited for them to come back out. There was a shout from inside the building. Radin's dead. All of a sudden, the guards all turned their full attention to Misogi. With their weapons raised they charged at him. In an instant, his chest was pierced by the tip of a spear and his body fell lifeless again. The guards looked confused by the lack of effort required to kill him. However, as they were getting their heads around what had happened, a grenade fell to the ground, out of Misogi's hand. Instantly the vision of the guards was filled with shrapnel before their untimely demise. Removed source of death. A few moments later, Misogi raised his head and looted the dead soldiers around him. With the ground littered with bodies, Misogi began making his way to the nearby building. The settlement was relatively advanced in comparison to many others. It was a combination of the organization that Radin was able to enforce which allowed them to commit to major projects such as building more advanced infrastructure. Making his way into a nearby house, he saw a group of people sitting inside. Hey, do any of you guys know where Alice is? The people inside looked at him in shock as blood dripped down from his clothes. We don't know. He took a few steps towards them, and a few of the men drew their weapons as Misogi approached them. You guys wouldn't happen to be lying, would you? No, we honestly don't know. Who are you anyways? Oh, me? I'm Misogi. With that, he turned around and left the house. As he walked around the settlement, he sensed that more and more people were stalking him. From every direction, there were eyes which stared at him, observing his every move. Despite that, he continued to nonchalantly walk around the camp, looking for Alice. Suddenly, he walked into a group of girls who were eating lunch. You'd look a lot more attractive if you wore a shorter skirt. The girl suddenly covered her legs in embarrassment. The embarrassment slowly turned into anger as the other girl stood up. Who the hell do you think you are, pervert? I'm just telling the truth. Also, you could lose some weight. The girl's face suddenly turned red before she slapped him. Go away. Oh well. Misogi left the group and continued to walk around the settlement. More and more people began gathering. Misogi could sense this and assumed that they were planning to kick him out with force. Fighting big groups of people isn't my strength, he thought to himself. As he began to walk out of the settlement, a girl suddenly stood in his way. In her hand was a fully functional and loaded bolt-action rifle. Hey, I'm leaving now, so could you GE? With a loud bang, the bullet was fired out of the gun, blowing up Misogi's head. Removed source of death. Misogi's head was reformed as he opened his eyes. Can you Lu? Suddenly, another bullet was fired from the girl's gun, killing Misogi once again. Removed source of death. As soon as Misogi came back to life again, he took out a teleportation potion and splashed it on himself before the girl could shoot another bullet. In an instant, Misogi was sent to another part of the forest. That could have been bad if I was stuck in a cycle there, he thought. In the new area of the forest, Misogi looked around. Whilst Misogi's ability allowed him to avoid death at a cost, it didn't provide him with any other benefits. Unlike every other person, he was forced to collect resources the old-fashioned way. Not only that, his ability came at a pretty steep price. As a result, he would never get the opportunity to truly thrive in the world. All the time, he was either on death's door or suffering immense pain. As a result, his tolerance for pain and hardship was broken. Now, he killed as easily as he breathed, he saw no value in the life of others and he saw no value in the life of his own. He walked through the harsh forest, aimless and hopeless. He wandered around until he stumbled across another settlement. This time, he arrived at the settlement of one of the biggest survivor groups in the entire world. It was an accumulation of thousands of different people. The settlement was the closest thing that this world had to a functional human society. He made his way out of the forest border and into the outskirts of the village. Not soon after, he was greeted by someone wandering around. "Hey, are you looking for something?" they asked. They appeared to be looking at the splotch of blood on Misogi's body. "Nope, nothing in particular." I think you should meet the head of the village, I haven't seen you around." "The head of the village, you say? All right, take me to them." Misogi followed the person through the town, eventually arriving at a large wooden building. Inside, sat an older man who appeared to be writing something. "Mr. Aiken, we've got a new visitor, sir." The old man looked up toward Misogi. "Who are you?" the leader of the village asked. "I'm Misogi. I take it you want to join the settlement?" Misogi thought about it for a little while. "Yes, I guess that is what I want." "All right, where did you come from?" "I came from the forest." The man seemed unimpressed by his answer but didn't push any further. "What system do you have?" I have a personal merchant system." "What does it do?" "I get specific missions where I can sell a specific item for a high token reward." "I see." Misogi was lying. "Our camp is a very accepting one, however, expect to be severely punished if you dare commit any crime." "Of course. As long as you understand." Misogi noticed the large number of soldiers gathered within the building. "Someone take him," said the man. One of the guards made their way over and escorted Misogi out of the room. "How old are you?" asked the guard. "I'm 16. "So you're still in high school, I'll take you over to one of the school groups. They'll tell you what to do from there." "Okay." They walked through the settlement until the guard found a group of teenagers led by a lady. The children were of various ages from 14 to 17 and there appeared to be around 15 people in total. "We've got a new friend, can you take him in?" the guard asked the lady. "Yeah, we could probably take another." "All right, over you go." The guard gestured for Misogi to join the group. He looked over at the various different people. Without any hesitation, he introduced himself to them. "Hey, I'm Misogi, nice to meet you all." "Oh, welcome Misogi," the lady responded. He did not receive a response from any of the other children. You're not a friendly bunch, are you?" Still, there was no response. He looked across to see what they were doing. It appeared that they were all nonchalant and cold, staring into the distance. As he joined the group, the lady began leading them toward one of the buildings. She then was joined by a large, hairy man. "All right, we are in pretty desperate need of meat, which of you can hunt?" he asked. There was a brief moment of silence. "I can," offered Misogi. "Good. Anyone else?" After a little while, a young girl put her hand up. I can also." "All right. We're going to need more people." No one else spoke up. The man walked around the room, looking down at all of the children. However, despite that, none of them raised their hands. It seemed that they didn't want to have to venture into the cold, dangerous forest. "Well, the two of you can go first then, I've got some tools if you need them." "Don't worry, I've already got some," Misogi responded. The girl walked over and grabbed one of the swords. I'll just take this." "All right, I'm going to tag you before you leave, this way, if something happens to you I'll be able to find you." The man walked over and touched their heads. "Done, now go hunt some animals." "Okay." The girl walked beside Misogi as they made their way toward the border of the forest. He looked at her, glancing all across her body, from her hips to her chest. "Hey, what's your name?" he asked. It's Isla." Nice to meet you, Isla." "And, you're Misogi, right?" "That's right." The two of them started to venture through the forest, weaving between the various trees and shrubbery. Isla constantly clung to different branches in order to keep her balance. Misogi was walking in front, scanning the area. "Oop, watch your step." Misogi grabbed onto Isla and pulled her closer to his side. Thanks." Suddenly, in the distance, they caught sight of a small boar. The little creature wandered around nonchalantly as impending danger approached it. Misogi slowly made his way closer, quietening down his footsteps. In his hand, he summoned a knife of Kali and swiftly threw it into the boar. The knife pierced the tough skin of the creature, causing it to fall to the ground, bleeding. A few moments later, he received the items. +3 meat. That wasn't too hard. Isla looked at him in awe. Misogi walked over to the knife and picked it up off of the ground. It was stained with a little bit of dark red blood. The two of them continued to wander around the forest, looking for animals to hunt. Misogi managed to find and hunt a few more small animals, from birds to lizards to boars. He received various amounts of meat from his kills. +2 meat, +3 meat, +1 meat. I wonder how much we need to collect. I guess I'll just get as much as possible. Isla was sticking quite close to him. It seemed that she wasn't exactly too enthusiastic about the whole hunting thing. Misogi didn't mind her. In fact, he seemed to enjoy her presence. He searched around, looking for any possible animals to hunt. Ah, where are they all hiding? I can help search if you want. Oh, you can? Yeah, I can scan the area. You should have told me earlier. Sorry. It's fine, please do the scan. She closed her eyes and concentrated her thoughts. After a little while, she suddenly opened her eyes back up and looked at Misogi. There's a pretty big animal over in that direction. She pointed in the distance. Okay, let's go. Misogi still had a very unsuspecting yet out-of-place smile. Are you sure? I think it's going to be dangerous. Don't worry, at worst, I'll just feed you to it. Just kidding, I'm sure it won't be that bad. Isla didn't seem convinced, but she followed him anyways. She rathered that than to get ditched and be left alone. The two of them trekked past a few more trees before seeing a large bear crawling around near a cave. Misogi began approaching the bear, with his knife of kali in hand. Wait, Misogi, that's a bear. I can tell. Let's go, we can't take that thing down. But it'll give us so much meat. No, but it's too dangerous. She pulled on his sleeve a little, but he didn't budge. Instead, he continued to walk toward the bear. With one clean throw, he managed to hit the bear directly in the head with his knife of kali. However, it didn't seem to be enough to kill the bear. Instead, it appeared to be quite angry. A loud growl later, the bear began charging at Misogi. Misogi! He pulled out another knife of kali and prepared to stab the bear. It jumped onto his face and tackled him to the ground. In the process, Misogi managed to stab the bear several times in its soft underbelly, killing it. +9 meat. Misogi was left bloodied on the forest floor. Misogi, are you alright? He grabbed a sharp stick from the ground and stabbed himself. Ah, what are you doing? Moments later, all of his wounds disappeared along with the stick. Isla rushed over to Misogi, who was lying on the ground. Misogi. Slowly, he picked himself up off of the ground. Hey Isla, I got a large amount of meat from that bear. How are you unharmed? Ah, don't worry about that. Huh? Misogi began walking through the woods once again, searching for more animals to hunt. Isla was hurrying behind to keep up with him. However, she was staying a decent few meters away from him. How come you're standing so far away? He asked. How are you alive? Are you still hung up about that? It's part of my system. But, you stabbed yourself. Misogi took a few steps toward her, and in response, she took a few steps back. I'm hurt that you're so afraid of me. Eventually, he gave up and continued to wander around the forest. The thick trunks of the trees made it quite easy to get separated if you weren't staying very close to each other. It was also quite dark, like it was always dusk due to the lack of light penetrating through the dense leaves. After a little while, Misogi managed to find another boar. With a swing of his arm, he managed to throw the knife of kali straight into its throat. +3 meat. After his kill, he walked over and retrieved his knife of kali. Isla was still keeping her distance from him. Hey, you should probably make yourself useful, you haven't done anything this entire time. He shouted from across the trees. She was obviously shaken by the sudden accusation. She did come out for the purpose of hunting animals. Her face went red and she quickly turned and wandered into another section of the forest. Misogi assumed that she was going to start actually hunting animals too. Still motivated, Misogi continued to move around the dense forest, looking for possible animals to hunt. Soon enough, he saw a bird pecking around at the ground. With incredible accuracy, he managed to throw his knife of kali straight at the bird, killing it instantly. +2 meat. He then retrieved his knife and searched for the next victim. A few moments later, there was a small group of birds sitting together on the forest floor. Misogi opened his system shop. Shop. X1, Grenade, 9 tokens. X1, Healing Potion, 17 tokens. X1, Teleportation Potion, 29 tokens. Unlike the system shops of every other human, Misogi had an especially expensive one. Every single item was several times more expensive than the ones in the shops of another human. Not only that, but he was also unable to use the Grand Exchange. Those were just some of the limitations that Misogi suffered. I guess a grenade's worth it. After purchasing the grenade, he summoned it into his hand and ripped out the safety pin. He then dumped it onto the ground in the midst of all the birds. They tried to fly away before all of them were instantly killed by the explosion. +2 meat, +2 meat, +2 meat, +2 meat, +2 meat, +2 meat, +2 meat. The corpses vanished into the air as Misogi walked through the forest. He had gathered quite a large number of meat. In total, in this single expedition, he managed to collect around 42 pieces and it had been less than an hour. With still plenty of time before night, he continued to venture around, looking for more animals to slay. Maybe the village chief will let me sleep with some girls if I give him all these resources. The village chief likely wasn't going to be so accommodating to his request, even if he brings home lots of resources. Nevertheless, Misogi didn't stop hunting animals. Suddenly, he stopped as he managed to see a deer standing in the distance. Ooh, big kill. He took a knife of Kali out of his inventory and prepared to throw it at the deer. However, he made a little too much noise and the deer suddenly dashed into the distance after being startled. Damn. Now that the deer escaped, he had no method of chasing it. Instead, he turned around and continued to look for another animal. Suddenly, there was a scream in the distance. Help! That sounded like Isla's voice, Misogi said to himself. He began making his way over to where the sound was coming from. There seemed to be some frantic ruffling of vegetation in the distance. As he got closer, he was surprised when he saw Isla pinned down by a large man. I was expecting a wild animal, but I guess you're being attacked by an animal of a different sort. Misogi. Seeing Isla pinned to the ground, Misogi took out his knife of Kali and made his way toward the man. Seeing Misogi, the man let go of Isla and drew his own weapon. Misogi couldn't recognize what type of weapon it was, but it was definitely a magical weapon. Do you really want to do this? The man asked in a firm voice. Not really, but I'd prefer it if you'd let my girl go. She's your girl? Well, not really, but I'm not really into watching other people, if you get what I mean. I have no idea what you're on about. Well, if you could just look. Suddenly, two other men stepped out from behind the trees. You're outnumbered, I would leave if I was you, the man said. Yeah, but you're not me. An arrow flew through the air, stabbing into Misogi's leg. However, to the man's surprise, Misogi did not flinch at all. You don't know what system I have, I could kill all of you, you know? Misogi said. The men took a few steps back. Why, you're crazy, there's an arrow in your leg. Oh, you mean this? Misogi swiftly pulled the arrow out, spurting blood onto the ground, ripping out parts of his flesh while he did so. What the hell? Seeing the danger that Misogi appeared to be, the men decided to pull back. They didn't want to risk fighting against someone stronger than them. As they turned to leave, Misogi threw his knife of Kali, stabbing directly into the man's head. Ack! The man fell to the ground, bleeding heavily from the back of his skull. Misogi walked towards him. You know, you don't just get to leave. The man looked up in complete fear as Misogi stood over him. What on earth are you?
Thank you so much. Visit us more for more novels, please. Like, subscribe to our channel.